Well, based on what I read, and I read pretty much what you read, it would be President Obama. He started it. And Biden was there with him, and Comey was there, and Clapper. The whole group was there. Brennan, they were all there in a room. Right here. This was the room.
It's the whole group. They were right there. It's one of the biggest conspiracy theories in American history that's now unraveling right before our eyes. So for the latest on the Russia collusion hoax is Paul Sperry. He's a senior reporter for RealClearInvestigations. So Paul, thanks so much for joining us right now. I think a lot of people, we've been familiar with this story for a while, but now we have the actual evidence proving what we kind of thought we knew. So let's start with the big picture. Lay out the 50,000-foot view for us of what we got from these documents.
These are the documents from ODNI and before that CIA, and they're adding to a growing body of evidence for a conspiracy that they're pursuing at the FBI, building a conspiracy case for corruption, conspiracy of corruption. Because we'll start with the ICA, that's the intelligence community assessment, that Obama ordered after the election, and the conclusions were reversed from low confidence that Putin was involved in influencing the election to help Trump, to all of a sudden they had high confidence, and a lot of analysts were wondering, well, what has changed? And they weren't even told what the evidence was. They were excluded from what the new evidence supposedly was, this secret evidence. And it turned out it was Hillary's dirty dossier. In other words, political opposition research that she had tied Putin to Trump. And so the ICA was cooked up to echo those conclusions, as it turns out. So we're finding more and more that ICA is looking more and more fraudulent by the day, something that was used to frame Trump, kind of, make him look like he was too compromised as president to effectively govern. And then it laid the foundation for a number of, countless investigations that followed and, really crippled his presidency, crippled his agenda, his mandate.
Yeah, mandate. We like that. We like that word here at the Mandate. This is astounding to me in some ways that the timing of all this rushing back. But it's not surprising that the final reckoning had not yet occurred. And you've been following this for a long time, as have many others. And it's refreshing to see ODNI actually, push this out and give us some movement and traction.
Absolutely. It's been bottled up for 8 years, and the dam is finally breaking, and the tables are turning on the bad guys.
So tell us about those bad guys. I mean, particularly in this case, we know from Brennan's notes that Obama was filled in on Hillary's plan to link Trump to Russia, right? And Susan Rice has always been circling, at the center of all of this. I used to quote the line from Usual Suspects. I'm telling you that Susan Rice is protected on high by the Prince of Darkness himself, because she just goes off to go on the board of Netflix, right? Where the Obamas get millions of dollars to do movies with a wealth of experience. But lay this out in terms of how the net is tightening around Obama with players like Rice.
Yeah, so I don't know if your viewers recall the infamous CYA memo to file note that she wrote as she was departing from the White House. And it was conveniently written to cover their tracks and, lay a record down in the National Archives saying, oh, everything we did was by the book. Actually, the phrase she used, Obama, everything he did was by the book. He asked the FBI, Comey, and Brennan to go forward doing everything by the book, any investigations. Well, it turns out what they were really doing was first of all, they knew what was coming, and what was coming was they had set a perjury trap for General Flynn. And they were basically trying to get rid of Donald Trump's incoming president's national security advisor, who was key. Who was key because he had access to all of the things that they had done. He would have had a roadmap to where all the bodies were buried in this scandal to get Trump. And so they had to put a note to file to say, oh, we did everything clean on this.
Yeah, we always see Democrats go out and project onto the Republicans what they think is actually, oh, if we say we're doing it, no, that the Republicans are the bad ones, they're doing it. And they always deflect back to them. And it's just something that we see throughout history. And I just look at this and say, okay, they tried to take Donald Trump down before he ever even assumed the office of the president of the United States. Now just go through like what that actually means for a country, for a nation, that they would do this before somebody actually becomes the sitting president, and trying to take him down with all of the intelligence, because that is such a key part of, are we going to trust the government or not with this intel?
I mean, it's tantamount to what banana republics, police states do to their political opponents, and that's what they did, orchestrated from the top down, White House down, against Trump. And at the same time, they went easy on the other candidate, Hillary Clinton, who they wanted to assume power. They wanted her in office. They wanted to stop Trump from getting into office and getting into power. And now we're finding out from another batch of declassified documents that DOJ recently declassified, that Comey, the FBI director, Obama's FBI director, actually covered up no fewer than 8 thumb drives with Hillary Clinton's emails. Obama's emails were also on there. These were classified, some of them emails, thousands of them. They had been compromised by a foreign adversary, and yet Comey opted not to investigate or examine any of them. We're now finding this out from yesterday's drop of declassified documents. And then he also buried a report that he got in that Attorney General Loretta Lynch was communicating allegedly with the Clinton campaign to fix the investigation into her emails and her illegal unsecured basement server. And Comey didn't open an investigation of that. Instead, he opened an investigation of Trump based on Clinton's political dirt, the dossier. So that's just more data points in this conspiracy of corruption. They disparate treatment in investigations. They whitewashed Hillary and they framed him, went after him hard, persecuted him. So that's just another part of this broader conspiracy that they're looking at FBI and DOJ.
So when it comes to that broader conspiracy, I think the concern that that I have, and I think many in our audience have, is, okay, well, we're going to pursue this how? Everyone wants to see prosecutions. All Jill wants for Christmas are perp walks, as she says.
Don't blame me.
But the problem here is, how are you going to prosecute these people, and what would this case look like, and who would you go after? Do you have any thoughts about what the details of this might be?
Well, all we know, I mean, this is going to be ambitious, absolutely, but it's not pie in the sky. They could look at it. There's a number of statutes that they can file under, and there will be a large list of co-conspirators. But, they could do conspiracy to defraud the government, deprivation of rights, conspiracy to commit perjury. They all gave the same testimony, false testimony, that the dossier had nothing to do with the ICA. So we know that's false from the emails that we now have declassified, the internal emails. And also conspiracy to obstruct justice, because we understand that there was another whistleblower, there are whistleblowers at ODNI that are emerging. And there was one at the FBI who evidently led Kash Patel to this cache or stash of hidden incriminating evidence that they put in a safe room at headquarters, hoping no one would ever find it. This is computer media. There's also paper documentation. We're told that it is stuff on Comey, Brennan, Jack Smith. So what we do know is that they have a case. There is a case file number, and there was an EC that was written that officially opens the investigation, and they have assigned it to a field office. So that's where they are now, as we understand it. And now they have to look for a venue that's going to have a grand jury that can look at all this material with an open mind, because District of Columbia, of course, is 90% Democrat, a lot of Trump haters, so they're not going to get a fair hearing there. So they have to find somewhere where they can try this, like Florida, Palm Beach County, for instance, which is much more Trump-friendly, of course, than D.C.
Well, I think a lot of people would love to see that actually happen, and will be waiting for it. I mean, this is the original sin of the deep state against really the rise of Trump over the last 10 years, as you well know. What's been surprising to me is the reaction on the part of many people, some of them, on the right. So National Review's Andy McCarthy, I mean, his line was, "No new light is shed on this Russiagate episode by Gabbard's email disclosures." Could you respond to that? It's a bit puzzling and maybe even troubling.
Yeah, Andy, as a former prosecutor, is usually good at litigating this stuff, but he has an action right against Tulsi Gabbard, first of all. He does not like her. And so I think he got a little emotional there, and it's clear from his analysis, his long column, that he did at National Review, he did not actually look at the 114 pages of declassified documents, because if he had, he would have noticed that there was or the CIA document that preceded that, the internal CIA review that Ratcliffe put out, because he claimed that the dossier was just attached as an annex, when it's clear from the declassified documents that it was included in the body, the text of the intelligence community assessment that Obama had ordered, to back as a bullet point supporting the most controversial radioactive conclusion in that assessment, which was that Vladimir Putin had personally intervened in our election to help Trump beat Hillary Clinton. And that's outrageous that her political dirt would be dressed up as intelligence and put into an official U.S. intelligence document. And so Andy missed that. He missed a number of things that were in Tulsi Gabbard's dossier document dump, those 114 pages, whereby it turns out that there was a whistleblower from DNI. He said there was nothing new. Well, there was this whistleblower he didn't mention. That was in the very back of the document of 114 pages. You have to read it all to find it. And quite frankly, Tulsi should have highlighted that in her talking points. However, this whistleblower stated that before the election, he was in charge of the Russia assessment. And then after the election, he was told, "Oh, everything that you thought was low confidence and weak, for instance, Putin helping Trump, we found new evidence. Magically, voila, we have this new evidence, and we're changing your assessment from low confidence to high confidence." And he says, "Well, what's the new evidence?" And they said, "Trust us. We have it. You just have to trust us." And so they told him to stand down when he objected. And so he was shunted aside. He was taken off the drafting. And so he's a whistleblower. There are a number of other whistleblowers, we understand, and they've been referred to DOJ, and they will get affidavits from them. They will get depositions, and then they will present them to a grand jury to help them build their case of conspiracy of corruption.
I mean, it's hard to even believe, right? You wouldn't believe it in the script if the intel, the great almighty intel community looks and goes, "Just trust me, bro. Just trust me on this one."
That's one of the things that we want to do here on this show, is just shed light on the deep state and make sure that they don't get away with everything. And I think it's interesting to note, a few weeks ago, you'll remember Tulsi Gabbard, they were like, "Oh, is she in the Situation Room? Is she not in the Situation Room?" And they were trying to just go out there and, just go, okay, what's the situation like right now with Tulsi and the admin? And now you see all these documents coming to light. So the fight on the deep state, Paul, is definitely on right now in a huge way.
Oh, yeah. They're grasping at straws. They're trying to, the Democrat spin and the media spin is now, oh, well, this is just we're going to shoot the messenger. Tulsi Gabbard's just doing this because she was on the outs with Trump and she's trying to get back in, get into his good favor. And so that's not true at all. The other thing is they're trying to spin out there is that this was just a big distraction that they cobbled together at the last minute to distract from the Jeffrey Epstein files debacle. Well, no, that's not true. From her office, I understand that this has been in the works, they said, for a long time. And that would make sense, 114 pages of documents. And another thing that was convincing was they told me that they have assembled a team, an entire team of people that are devoted to declassification for this purpose, to get this stuff to DOJ, to build this case. And this team is actually using, this is interesting, they're using AI, artificial intelligence, to go through to help them aggregate all of these documents, going through classified and unclassified networks across the entire 18 intelligence agencies that Tulsi Gabbard has authority over. And they're trying to collect all these relevant emails through AI. So this is just the first wave of documents that they're putting out. There's going to be thousands of more documents that are going to be coming down the pipe.
Yeah, Paul, we have heard the same thing. I'm so glad that you said that here on the show. Thanks so much for all the information. It's been really helpful.
Great to be with you.